I was not frank because I was afraid. Always afraid of men. Their feelings and sense of entitlement making monsters out of them. If I don't eat anything else today, this croque madame is more than enough. It is delicious. Unlike all the other days, I woke up bright and early today and went for a 6.5-mile run by the Seine. I had to pinch myself. Me, running by the Seine, towards the Eiffel Tower and Pont Alexandre. What a life. Usually after a run I'm wired and full of energy, but inexplicably, I fell back to bed and slept for almost 4 hours, past noon. The late nights have finally caught up to me. When I awoke, still in my running clothes, I was groggy and felt like staying home once I saw how dreary outside was. I somehow convinced myself to leave the coziness of the apartment and go outside. So I trudged to the cemetery barely a block away, Vaugirard Cemetery, bordered on 3 sides by towering modern apartment buildings. But it was still a little oasis, with many old crypts and statues. It was so quiet, peaceful, and lovely. Yet, I am troubled. The guy from last night who interrupted my picnic by the Seine to press his suit had emailed me multiple times. The first to ask if we could hang out that night. Then a second email later that evening saying he was now where we had met, asking if we could meet up, even though I hadn't replied to his first email. Then a third at 2 a.m. in the morning. Clearly he had been drinking or his anger had been simmering to the point of boiling over. One more email in French, which needed minimal translation. The beast beneath the nice veneer of the night before. How much do you want to bet he would have called me that name to my face had I outright declined his offers and advances? I thought that was the end of it, but shockingly he sent another message this afternoon, as though nothing had happened. I re-examined our very brief encounter the night before. I did not approach him. I didn't even promise to go out with him. All I said was maybe. I did not lead him on. I understand that he was shooting his shot. After all, you don't make 100% of the shots you don't take. But sending message after message without getting one response, and especially after insulting me, was disturbing. I'm thankful he didn't know where I was staying, my full name, my phone number. I had merely been minding my own business, anticipating diving into my first French baguette of this trip. I made polite conversation just because. I meant to be polite. I'm a solo female in a foreign country, and even if I were at home in the U.S., I'm never sure how a man will react when rejected. So I do what is expected of me, what is expected of all women, which is to be nice. And now looking back, my intuition most likely picked up on the darkness lurking below the courtly facade. I was not frank because I was afraid. Always afraid of men. Their feelings and sense of entitlement making monsters out of them. The reasons I was so eager to be away from home for 6 weeks, why I told only 3 people where I was going. The secrecy. Oh, the secrecy. All has to do with this. So no to those who are thinking, I am not overreacting to one rude email. I do not think all men act like this or that all men are to be feared. But experience has taught me to be wary, cautious, until proven wrong. Although such a fear has not stopped me from going out on runs by myself, traveling by myself, walking city streets at night by myself, camping, backpacking by myself, I do what most women do, which is to have my guard up. It is not conscious anymore, but a reflex. I only run when it is light outside. If I see a group of men or even just one man ahead of my path, I will make a wide berth, sometimes go in another direction. I deliberately don't make eye contact with men, a practice I've made since I was a young girl and experienced unwanted male attention. This reflex, coupled with my introverted nature, has led many to assume I'm standoffish, unsociable, and unfriendly. But it's a price I have to pay. beautiful plot on one end filled with the graves of soldiers fallen from the First World War. Each grave with a flowering crimson rose bush, so that it looked like the loveliest or the bloodiest red rose garden I have ever seen. It started to rain, so I hurried home, suddenly glad for an excuse to stay inside, drink some mint tea, and read one of my treasures. I felt like a homey kind of day, so I attempted my first French dish. Keto-wise, of course. 2 for 1, actually. Croque madame with bechamel sauce. A croque madame is the more decadent version of a croque monsieur. The croque monsieur is a traditional French sandwich with bechamel sauce and cheese filling and sliced ham between 2 slices of bread and then heated with a butter on both sides until the cheese is melted. A croque madame is a croque monsieur with a fried egg on top. Bechamel sauce is one of the mother sauces. The traditional version comprises of milk, butter, salt, pepper, and flour to thicken it. To make keto bechamel sauce, I substituted xantham gum, which I brought from the US, for the flour. Xantham gum is my go-to thickener for recipes calling for cornstarch or flour, such as making roux, gravy, sauces, even to thicken hot chocolate. It has 1 gram of carb per serving, which I never use the full serving because it is a super thickener. I use the same principles with xantham gum as with flour or cornstarch, which is to mix it with some sort of melted fat first, like butter on a heated pan, with a whisk, and once blended and melted, add your liquid so that the xanthan gum doesn't clump. Just note that xanthan gum doesn't translate into a 1-to-1 substitution ratio. It takes time to eyeball the right amount, but a little xanthan gum goes a long way. Okay, so from bechamel sauce, I use 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 teaspoon xanthan gum, 2/3 cup milk, either plant-based or dairy, salt and pepper to taste. Once you turn up the heat, the bechamel sauce thickens pretty fast, so you have to watch it. Season with salt and pepper. Now we're going to transform this bechamel sauce by adding 1/3 cup of shredded comte cheese, or Gruyere if you want a sharper taste, since comte is pretty mild. This bechamel sauce is now technically a MORNAY sauce. It's great over chicken fillets, steamed veggies, but today we're using it for our croque madame. So I made some keto bread earlier, and for those who don't know how to make this super easy keto bread, I'll put the recipe up. It's the 90-second bread and literally the first keto recipe I ever learned. Like I stated in my keto groceries video, almond flour is easily found in French grocery stores. So I was lucky enough that my Airbnb has this rectangular, perfectly sized microwavable dish that gives me the nice bread shape. However, you can use a large round ramekin like I usually do at home. Unfortunately though, my apartment doesn't have a toaster, so I will be toasting my keto bread on my pan with butter, of course. Now that's done, we start assembly. Technically, I'm supposed to use thinly sliced ham, but I have leftover prosciutto from last night, so in it goes. I also have some of that mild orange cheese, mimolette jaune, so I'm putting that in. You can leave it out for a more traditional version. Then layer that glorious Mornay sauce, which is just a cheesy bechamel sauce. Heat up the pan once more, slap a tab of butter, and then we heat up both sides of our sandwich until it's all sorts of melty goodness inside. I slather the top side of my still hot sandwich with more Mornay sauce. Yes, because all this butter and cheese is not enough. More sauce, I say. If we stop here, we have a perfect keto croque monsieur. But we're not stopping here, oh no. Take that off the heat, let it sit while we quickly fry our egg in some butter. I like it over easy for that nice runny yolk. As soon as the egg is done, then we crown our cheesy, melty, decadent croque monsieur to transform it into a keto croque madame. It's definitely gilding the lily with slices of avocado on the side, not to mention the creme fraiche. But I'm one of those people that always feels some slight guilt eating something so rich without some green on the plate. Let's give it a little slice here. Oh my goodness, look at that glorious orange yolk running down that rich Mornay sauce and that little red peep of prosciutto. If I don't eat anything else today, this croque madame is more than enough. It is delicious.
Curiously, I came upon an article by the Daily Beast as I scrolled through my news today of hermits, the secret society of women who prefer to be alone. It talks of how male hermits are acceptable, but female hermits are seen as social deviants. Female hermits don't want to get married, have children. They love being mostly out of the social fabric. They want to live alone and pursue their varied interests. The women pictured in the article looked confident, beautiful, happy, and radiant. That's who I am, a hermit. Perhaps eccentric by society's standards, but happiest when left alone. As to that man from the sun, he would send me a total of 8 messages in a span of 10 weeks, the last one arriving 1 month after my return, all without me ever sending any reply.